Example number 3 on page 318. So this example basically ties all the different things that we have done in this lesson. So we're going to make an equation. We are going to then find the x and y intercept, and we're also going to talk about the domain, range, and equation of axis of symmetry as we did in previous lessons. Okay, so starting with this, we're going to again look for, to make an equation, remember the standard form is y equals to a x minus p squared plus q. So remember the first step is to find vertex. Usually either they will give us in the question written or show it on the graph like they did here. So they made sure that they made a very nice graph and we can actually pick the vertex out of there. So that's my p and that's my q. So that would be the first thing. I would put those two values in. So I would go x minus 1 will become plus 1 because negative and negative will become positive, and then plus 2. So remember, that's what I call my partial equation. The only thing missing here is the value of a. And to help find us, we're going to use another point given to us, which would be x or y. You can use any point on there. If you could easily read an x or y intercept, remember those are also points. You can use the y-intercept or any other point that is easily read. So because they made a point to give us that second point, we're going to use that one. Okay, so this point is going to be negative 3 and 1. So we're going to put that for x and y. So y is 1 and x is negative 3. And we're going to use this to solve for a now. So we're doing the second step right now here. So 1 is equal to a times, this is negative 2 squared plus 2. And 1 is equal to 4a plus 2. Get rid of the 2 first, opposite of BEDMAS. And that gives me negative 1 is equal to 4a. And now get rid of the 4 by dividing it by both sides. So a comes out to be negative 1/4. We're going to use this a back in our partial equation and fill it in. So it'll be y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 1 squared plus 2. So that's my final equation right here. Okay, so we have our equation now. We're going to find our x and y intercepts, and they want this answer in both exact values. That means if there's a square root, leave it as a square root if you can't take it nicely, and other is to actually find it to the nearest hundredth. So that's when you would actually put in your calculator and evaluate it, what value it comes out to be. So remember, y-intercepts are easier to do, so I like to get them done. So y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So in my equation here that we found in part A, I'm going to put x equal to 0. Which means y is equal to negative 1/4. 1 squared just gives you 1. So that is really just gone. So that leaves you with just negative 1/4. Or you can show it in here, 1 plus 2. So this is y equals negative 1/4 plus 2. So this ends up being 7/4. Remember, you can make them the same denominators. So 2 is over 1. So you would need to times this both by 4 so that it also has the same denominator. And then negative 1 and 8 gives you 7/4. So that's how we got the y-intercept to be 7/4. Now comes the x-intercept. So x-intercept is found by putting y equal to 0. So in the same equation here, this time we're going to put y equal to 0, and we're going to need to isolate our x. So the first thing that would happen is that we will take our 2 to the other side by subtracting it. So we end up getting negative 2 is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 1 squared. And then I can get rid of this fraction by taking it to the other side. You can do it in 2 steps, by first dividing by a 4 and then multiplying by a 4 and then dividing by a -1. Or you can say I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal. So it will be by -4/1. So that gives you -4/1. Let's just write that a little nicer. That ends up giving us 8. Now, in order to get rid of the square, you have to do square root of both sides. And the square root of 8 is going to give you plus minus square root 8. And you're left with x plus 1. Over here, we're going to take the 1 to the other side. So it's -1 plus minus square root of 8. Square root of 8, remember, is 2√2. So I can write my x-intercept as two values, -1 plus 2√2, which is the same as square root 8. And the second one would be -1 minus 2√2. So this would be the exact answers because we did not round it. In order to find the rounded nearest 100th answer for it, you simply will put this into the calculator. So you're going to go -1 plus square root of 8 if you want, or you can use 2√2. So one of the answers for the one when you're adding, it will come out to be 1.83 to the nearest 100th. And then you can do 1 minus 2√2. And that gives you the answer -3.83. So those would be the answer in the decimal format, rounded to the nearest 100th. Okay. The last part of this question is to state the domain and range. So if you remember, domain for any parabola is x belongs to all real numbers. The range here is going to be, this is going to be your highest point. So you're going to say y has to be less than equal to 2, and then it will belong to all real numbers. And the equation of symmetry goes through, if you remember, goes through your vertex, and it is on your x coordinate or the p-value. So the axis of symmetry is at x equals -1.